Hi, I want to welcome everyone today and appreciate you joining us. We're going to be talking about carbon markets with Demian and Ryan Fisher to start us off here. Just a quick disclosure, Camaplan does not provide any investment advice, tax, legal, or endorse any investments. Work with your CPAs, accountants, attorneys or other professionals, et cetera, before making any investment. This is my contact information. If anybody wants more information about how to use your self-directed IRAs or 401ks, retirement accounts, et cetera, to make alternative investments, I can be reached at 866-559-4430. My email is rfisher, that's RFISCHER at CAMAPLAN.com. And at this point, I want to welcome Demian to present his information with us today. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and I'm going to turn the screen over to you.
Hi.
Welcome.
Can you guys hear me? Hey.
Yes.
Hey, thank you for having me today, Ryan and Camaplan, and I'm looking forward to the opportunity to share my passion with everyone, which is ethical investments and what I see as the real low-hanging fruit, which is the carbon markets. And I think it's something everyone affects everyone, and everyone should know a little bit more about it. Myself is I am a old school crypto guy, which isn't been around that long, but I've been an active crypto trader, investor, and analyst for 7 years, 8 years, and I have a passion for investing and trading and understanding market theory and technical analysis, and I've always thought that it was one of the most powerful, interesting new tools to kind of promote democracy and justice, but there's always been kind of big barriers to that. And one of them was always kind of one was about what the underlying value of it should be. So I was always kind of looking for what would be the most realistic asset to put as an underlying, and that's when I came across the carbon markets a few years ago. And at the time, there was just a few projects that were going online where they were taking Web3 applications and using carbon. And now there's about 40 or 50 of them that have been in place. And it's kind of changed my life. It opened a huge can of worms, and I became a full-time carbon analyst, talking to everyone I could and studying everything I could about the carbon markets and seeing what the possibilities were, of kind of marrying the two and solving the existential threat of our time, which is, climate change. So I think I'll go into my presentation if I can screen share here and start to get people. Let's see, it may take a second to warm up.
Yeah, you should be able to.
See. Okay.
Yep, it's loading.
Yeah, I'm not sure why. Anyway, yeah, I think it's actually the most interesting and kind of scalable solution for Web3. And if we are going to try to solve the climate crisis with market forces, there's a debate within climate activists and climate tech world whether climate change is a complete market failure and that it can't be solved with investing. But I've never been a believer in that. I believe that we just have to engage the forces that we have and move these massive amounts of value. Anyway, what's going on here?
It's all right. It might take a minute to load.
Yeah.
Or you can talk about
Here
what's
we go.
about to come up too. Oh, there we go.
Okay. All right. Cool. All right. So I want to kind of start with kind of the scope of what it really is and how big the potential is. Okay. So this is a quote by Louis Redshaw, who was the head of Barclays, the environmental markets. He went on and he has his own carbon advisor. He's one of the most trusted voices in the market right now. But the idea is that
You're going in and out on your audio.
Oh,
there you go. That's fine now.
Unlike a lot of
can't hear you. Demian, I couldn't hear what you were saying there.
high carbon on the market, which a credit which represents one of those removals or reductions is anywhere between 10 all the way to $100 in Europe. So that means it's actually subsidized.
Demian, I can't hear you.
Hedges to go neutral. And so what we know that what the cost of that would be, and it would be if we get to what everyone is talking about, it's the biggest market in the world. It's 20% of the world's GDP at the current price of removing it. So the opportunity is massive. It's almost already $1 billion, but most of that is just allowances from company to company, and it's not actually getting to zero or the real reductions. So if we're going to do it, if we're going to even come close to what everyone's saying, that means that the market has to grow to 10% of the entire world's economy. So that's massive. The potential is incredible. And for that to happen, it has the potential to change the reserve base of money itself, because it's so big, it would overshadow oil and everything else if we were going to remove all the carbon from post-industrial civilization. Okay. So, the reason is, it has to be done because the reality is that even though we've moved 1 billion, the market is almost $1 trillion a year. It hasn't started to move the problem at all. And my computer's freezing. Hold on a second.
Yeah, and sometimes you're coming in and out on your audio, but I'll let you know.
Okay, so what the idea is that how the carbon markets work now is that they are a transitional system. Like companies like Tesla would be insolvent without them. The idea is that to change all the infrastructure to get off fossil fuels overnight, the markets don't see it as a viable possibility. So what they did was 20 years ago, they invented the carbon markets. And depending on what sector you're involved in, you're given emission standards. And if your company goes below those, you're awarded these credits. If you go above them, you have to buy the credits or you have to pay fines or taxes. And so companies like Tesla, to build his cars were so expensive that he would never be able to be profitable without actually being awarded those credits and being able to sell them to all the companies that don't meet those standards. So he makes more money by selling those credits to GM than making his cars at this point. And so the carbon market right now, is a transitional tool for switching over. The argument is that we could immediately put in higher standards and push and force all of the polluters, but they say that they couldn't afford to do it. And the true price, how everyone's saying, oh, well, the price of sustainables is going down so much, but the true price, you have to incorporate the moving of all of the infrastructure. So that's why we have a transitional system like the carbon markets. But the reality is, it's moving in the right direction, but because the scientists say we don't have much time left and we don't want to move the temperature up 1.5, and then we'll start to have all these cascading effects. And so that's how the idea of moving to a more regenerative system where what we do is we change how we look at investing in carbon. So right now, like I said, it's either you're forced to by the government because of your business where you want to go neutral, or because of a pledge personally, or businesses say they want to be neutral. So what they do is they calculate their footprint, and it usually works out to about 1% of their gross revenue. And they have to buy the equivalent in credits, and then they do what's called retire them, and they become a liability. So right now it's a punitive system, meaning it's a self-imposed or slightly mandated by the government, but it's a cost off of your books to invest in carbon. The idea is that you buy these credits and they represent removal or reduction, and you pull them off the market, and then they become a cost off of your books, and you equate that cost. And obviously it's not working because people are not going to take an unmandated cost that's going to affect them. So the idea is with Web3, what we do is that we contractually retire them, but they hold their collateral value. And so they become an investment asset instead of a liability, right? And this is already being done, right? With the traditional derivative. Like you can already now go and invest in what's called crane shares, or the IHS, and you can buy, you can just invest in carbon itself as an investment, that it holds its value, but they represent only a couple allowances, which are the government ones between a few countries in the world, and it's not being able to scale the interesting projects. So what we do is we buy up all the credits and marry them to that same stable price, but we're pulling in all the interesting kind of volunteer registry credits as well. So the idea is that using crypto and turning them into a crypto, we can hold their value and they can still grow as an investment. And that way it becomes an investment thesis instead of a punitive cost. So instead of saying, hey, I'm going to put in 1% to go carbon neutral, I can put in 2, 3, 5% of my risk on portfolio, and I can look at it as investment thesis. And if you apply that to all of the other markets in the world, then you're actually going to move that massive amount, which is, like I said, it works out to like 12% of the world's GDP. You can actually start to afford to do it in a financial sector, and it'll also push up the price of carbon. And once it gets up to that price, like I said, $200-300, it becomes it becomes profitable. And with market theory, it's all about we move off booms, like it happened with real estate, it happened with crypto, it happened with the .com. And the idea is that it should happen. It has to happen with carbon and other regenerative commodities, because it does. Carbon's just the first one. Once we prove the model that instead of putting a value on an abstract protocol like Bitcoin or on gold like we have in the past, we can put it on anything we want using tokenomics or digitalizing it into a cryptographic value, why not do it to activities that save the world? And that's what carbon market does theoretically when you use it properly, because it removes the pollution from the air, right? Now, we're going to do it with an index for a bunch of different reasons. The idea is that you don't want to throw the baby out with the bathwater. There's all kinds of things that have worked in the financial world. Like if you buy the S&P today, right, it doesn't have the same makeup of stocks that it had, 20, 30, 40 years ago, right? Because you want to invest the entire market. Now, carbon market represents all kinds of different projects and different registries, some governments, some other, some private, all kinds of new interesting kind of efficiency technologies that create their own credits. And it's a nascent market. It's still really young market. So there are good and bad things, but it needs to be rebalanced. And just like, investing in an index does, is where you want to invest in the entire, that section of the economy, but you want to be able to rebalance the assets that work over time. It's kind of an old Wall Street trick, is how you can have your cake and eat it too, as long as you're invested in time. And so that's what we do. And we're going to rebalance it off of momentum, based off of a ratio from how long the credits have existed to the amount of volume they get quarterly. And over time, the ones that work and the market proves itself, we just reweight them at a higher percentage. And so, we're agnostic as long as they meet the basic criteria, and then we let the market solve itself by which ones become more scalable and actually prove themselves, with social consensus and solutions. And as time goes on, we just rebalance them. So that's the idea, is that it's a perfect match of using the old Wall Street trick. So yeah, so for us, like I said, we're going to be agnostic, but we are going to serve as a platform for people to educate and understand themselves on the projects that are working and which ones are being more researched and vetted and validated. And we'll be, a system for just all the new different types of innovation that's coming through in the market and the asset as they are. Yeah. Now, this is kind of like the profound side of it, which is, like I said, it comes to the point where once it starts working and the carbon market actually starts what's called the drawdown, which means instead of talking about how much carbon we're putting in the atmosphere, we start talking about how much the system is starting to pull out. It'll become such a large amount of volume that if it's applied to different kind of bond systems, theoretically, it'll be the reserve capital of the future, which is kind of profound and beautiful, that we could turn the pollution of today into the money of the future. It's what people could hoard in the future and trade, just like gold. These are abstract ideas of what we choose to value. And because we have such massive problems ahead of us, we have to apply these kind of new creative methods to do it. That's a lot for people to take in. It's kind of a difficult thing to wrap your head around in the beginning. I mean, everyone kind of knows that CO2 is this massive problem that has to be addressed, and it's about transitioning to sustainable fuels and lifestyles. And the cat is out of the bag. That's all happening. Everyone is kind of moving towards that, but we also know it's not really working, and we need to apply these other kind of investment solutions. And it's like, if you look for ones that are ethical, that people like to invest in money, and most of the time invest in different investments and make money, but generally there's always kind of a guilty feeling attached to it. This is one of the first opportunities in life where the next boom could come without that guilt feeling, because like I said, what we'll be hoarding and what we'll be investing in is actually cleaning the planet and creating a future for our children. So to me, it's the most exciting thing there is in the world. And there's so much to look into now. Your people can start with our website and look at all of the documents and links, and start with our white papers, and then just go out there and see that there's so many kind of interesting projects and people and healers and engineers working on this stuff, and that it just needs to have a clearing price, central price. And that's really kind of the goal behind everyone in the carbon market. Like if you go to buy oil or gold, there's a set price around the world. Or if you have a business and you need to remove the trash from your office building, you know what that costs. Well, the actual price of carbon is still too abstract and it's not set, right? And because the idea is that it's just too astronomical for the markets to handle. That's why we need to have these kind of change it into an actual tradable commodity. And like I said, Web3 is this really unique kind of place where we can do that, where we keep its collateral value, and over time it can appreciate. And like I said, the first derivative came out about a year and a half ago, and it's beating everything. It's beating the regular market. It's beating crypto. It's beating most commodity markets because the pledges are so. It represents just the three main government allowance carbon markets, but the pledges are so permissive around the world. Do you have any questions?
Sorry, I was just unmuting myself there. For the audience, you're able to put questions in the chat box or the Q&A if we have any. Is there any other points you want to stress?
Yeah, my point is that we live in the most interesting time there is, and you can vote with your feet. You know, that expression, which means use your money. You can have both if you look for it. Investments that make financial sense and ethical sense. I mean, there's all different other ways to invest in alternative, energies, and you can start with, green ETFs and all these things. They become a little bit, the more you research, the more you understand the risk and the diversity. Carbon is interesting because, like I said, it's a commodity. It's simple. It either represents 1 ton removed or reduced of carbon. The only controversy is now it's used for greenwashing and offsetting, where people buy it and then they use it to justify their pollution behavior. But if you buy, like our the token on our index or other derivatives that represent just removing and reducing it and taking it so it can never be as an offset, it's a very simple ethical commodity because it's not used in greenwashing. It's not used for to justify any pollution. It just represents cleaning the air. So, but I totally encourage everybody who's interested in investing to invest with their heart, invest with their feet, as they say, and look for things that make sense. And the regenerative commodities and the ones that are simpler and easier to scale are coming out. This market is super new. The ideas of using contractual retirements and new derivatives, commodities that make it more simple and ethical are just coming out. So everyone should just, keep their eyes open and do a lot of their research and start to follow and set set their goals really high for what they want to do with their money for the future and how they want to do both, help the planet and help their portfolios.
Awesome. Thank you for that. So how does somebody get involved with this?
Well, for us, like I said, they can go to our website at 6c-index.com and sign up for our mailing list, go onto all our social medias, sign up, get ready for our whitelist, and just start researching and studying. Look into the carbon market, the tokenized carbon market. We have all kinds of resources. They can start with our docs, and yeah, and we're still like, it's a nascent market, and we're still like a startup. So we're looking for all kinds of help and initial investors, and yeah, so that's where they should start. And like I said, it's kind of like opening a can of worms. Once you get into this, you'll start to see what's the most kind of interesting new way to look at money and investment as we go forward.
And then someone from the audience also asked, do you currently offer investments in carbon? If so, can you explain the offer and the earnings trajectory?
Well, we're still building our platform and our index. So we are still getting our initial investors to put together the our ETF. So right now we don't have any assets for investing in yet.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that's 6c-index.com, right?
6c-index.com.
Yep. Alrighty. Well, I want to appreciate you for taking the time to give us this information, and everybody else on here as well for taking the time to listen. Keep an eye out for other upcoming events. Appreciate it, Demian.
Thank you so much for your time, Ryan. Take care.
Absolutely. Bye.